The internet is one wild place, but there are certain corners of it that most people never even know exist. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the darkest chat rooms on the internet and uncovering some messed up truths about what goes on in them. First, we have to talk about the dark web. For those who don't know, the dark web is a term used to describe websites that are unindexed by search engines like Google. This means that these sites can't be found through normal means and are instead accessed through special software like Tor. The dark web has a lot of illegal activity going on, such as drug deals and stolen data sales. And with all this illegal stuff going on, it's no surprise that there are also a ton of messed up chat rooms. One of the most disturbing things about these chat rooms is that they're often filled with people who have no idea how to use proper grammar or punctuation. It can be hard to follow along with conversations and really just makes for a really unpleasant experience. Now, while this might not seem like a big deal to some people, it actually reveals a lot about the state of online literacy. If these users can't communicate properly in a text-based chat room, imagine how they behave when they're trying to scam someone over email. Or maybe they're trying to do something more nefarious, like blackmailing someone. Whatever it is, if they can't even write a simple sentence, you can bet that there are red flags everywhere. Another thing that really gets under my skin is when people use excessive amounts of profanity. Now, I'm not a prude by any means, but there's a time and a place for everything. And when someone is going on a rant and cursing up a storm in a chat room, it just feels unnecessary. It doesn't contribute anything to the conversation, and it just creates a hostile environment. There's also a fine line between using curse words as an outlet and using them to intentionally provoke others. For example, saying "I hate my life" is very different from saying "I effing hate my life, you no good low-life scumbag." One of these statements may be seen as venting, but the other one is clearly intended to hurt. And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference, especially if you're dealing with someone who's just trolling. Let's take a look at one of the scariest chat rooms on the internet. It's called 4chan, and it's home to some of the most depraved individuals imaginable. This chat room is basically a cesspool of humanity where anything goes. People come here to share their thoughts on literally everything, but it can be pretty hard to find anything useful because there's so much noise. One of the most popular boards on 4chan is the random board where users can post whatever they want, whenever they want. This can lead to some pretty shocking conversations popping up out of nowhere. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but let us just say that there are a lot of things that people post on this board that would make even the most jaded internet user blush. But it doesn't stop there. There are also a ton of other boards on 4chan dedicated to all sorts of messed up stuff. For example, there's a board called B that's dedicated to trolling. So basically, users come here to post inflammatory or offensive messages just to get a rise out of people. There's also a board called R9Ks that's dedicated to discussing suicide. Yes, you heard that right, a whole board dedicated to talking about suicide. It's honestly pretty disturbing, and I don't really understand why it's allowed. But if you think that's bad, then check out the board called DPT. Here, users post pictures of themselves and ask strangers to critique their appearance. This can be really harmful to people's mental health, and it's just plain mean. I mean, who needs this kind of negativity in their life? And it doesn't have to be about looks either. On a board like JACH-SOC, people will post about their personal relationships and ask for advice. But a lot of times, the advice they receive isn't very helpful. It's just other people being mean. Sometimes it can be downright dangerous. Take this conversation, for example. One user posted about their abusive boyfriend and asked for advice on how to break up with him. Some of the responses were genuinely helpful, but there were also a lot of people telling her to just get over it and move on. Others told her to fight back against her boyfriend. But the most messed up response was this one: "Why don't you jump out the window?" It's just shocking that people can be so callous. I mean, this isn't some anonymous social media platform. This is a chat room. The person on the other side is a real person who could actually act on this advice. I'm just glad that she didn't. And it's not just the users of these chat rooms who need to bear some responsibility. The mods also play a big role in creating the toxic environment. These are the people who are supposed to keep the chat rooms running smoothly and make sure that nothing inappropriate is going on. But in reality, they're often just as bad as the users. In fact, they could be worse because they have more power. Take 4chan, for example. Again, the mods there are notorious for being lazy or just not caring about what goes on in the chat rooms. They don't remove offensive posts or ban users, even when they're breaking the rules. This creates a culture of impunity where people feel like they can do whatever they want and get away with it. Some of these chat rooms are so bad that they've been banned outright. This includes rooms that are dedicated to things like child abuse and the exploitation of women. But there are still plenty of other rooms that are just as messed up, but haven't been caught yet. The worst part is that these chat rooms are just the tip of the iceberg. There are also a ton of secret rooms that are only accessible to a select few people. These rooms are where the real sick stuff goes down. One of the most infamous secret chat rooms is called Friends List. As the name suggests, this room is where people go to discuss their friends, but there's a twist. The friends in question are usually underage girls, and the conversations in this chat room are anything but innocent. This is a place where people go to brag about the things they've done with young girls, and it's honestly pretty disturbing. Thankfully, this chat room was eventually shut down, but it's likely that there are plenty of others just like it still out there. The problem is that it's really hard to find these rooms because they're hidden deep within the dark web. To access them, you usually have to use special software like Tor and have specific passwords. This is done in order to keep the rooms secret and prevent law enforcement from raiding them. But it also means that a lot of messed up stuff goes on undetected. The most common type of chat room on the dark web is the one where people go to buy drugs. These chat rooms are usually filled with people from all over the world, and the conversations can be pretty intense. Since money is often exchanged hands, there are a lot of precautions that have to be taken to ensure that everyone is safe. Users have to be careful about who they trust, and they should always take steps to protect their identity. That's why many users of these chat rooms prefer to use cryptocurrencies when making transactions. Crypto is a digital currency that isn't regulated by any government, which makes it ideal for buying illegal substances. Users can also use crypto to purchase other items on the dark web, such as stolen data and weapons. The dark web is full of all kinds of chat rooms, and not all of them are filled with messed up people. There are also rooms for people who are interested in discussing politics, religion, and other controversial topics. These rooms can be a great place to learn about different perspectives, but they can also be pretty heated. The anonymity that the internet provides often brings out the worst in people, and these chat rooms are no exception. It's important to remember that just because someone is hiding behind a screen doesn't give them the right to be hateful or offensive. Thanks for watching.